it actually happened. But the past little while, I've just had nothing but problems booting up, which has been great. I've had no changing of settings. I haven't done a cast like this in quite a while with the whole uh, camera and set up and online and everything like that. But shouldn't change anything when you don't change a thing. So we'll see. Maybe I just had to turn the computer on and off, which is stupid, but that might be true. So give me a few seconds here if you're watching. Hopefully, then nobody isn't, because I hate when people watch the test and then they come to me. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're testing right now." It's like, "Oh, I know I'm testing right now," but I think I think it's all right. So you know what? Maybe I'll just keep this in here for we'll see, because YouTube, man, how they've changed things, their whole settings, their backgrounds, everything like that, their editing programs, they just suck. There's ways too where it's like now when you chop a file, before you could just edit it off, and maybe someone tell me out there that's a big nerd because I haven't dived into the new settings. I don't like them, but now it's like if you edit, it's like, will you create a new file? And it was like one time we had like a problem, like we had like some audio drop off. So it's like, okay, I'm just gonna edit it out, cut out that portion. It's only 30 seconds, but just not that great. And then moves forward. But then all our views from the video that we had on that go away, and it goes creates a new video and it's zero. It's like, it's like that kind of sucks. It's like all those people that join in and whatnot, but whatever. That's what happens, right? So my name is Trask now, and I'm not even I'm gonna have to do that again because I'm not even recording my audio track. But if anybody, please, if you've watched this, you go down in the comments and say I saw this. Even maybe I edited it out, but if not, say I saw this because I this is the third try to get going on this, and no idea. We have, as you know, COVID's happening and whatnot. Hello, I'm Travis Snail. This is the Project Power Review. If you're the audio listeners, this is why you go over the video, because you get like my 2-minute pre-show of the whole crap I had. And this is what podcasting world is like. We because of COVID have been doing lots of Zoom casts and whatnot, and we haven't done too many people. And we usually do the new cast reviews. We haven't had too much news, no reviews. It's gonna be happening a bit more in August, September again. So, and we have streams coming up, but change nothing. Not a single thing today. Log on. Problems galore. 3 tries, but here I am, and I'm already flustered. I'm going to get in that, but as always, my name is Travis. Now, I am reviewing Project Power. I'm going to review this movie, and then I'll give you a 3, 2, 1 when I get into spoilers. But before I do that, got a few things to bring up. So, next week, DC Fandom, August 22nd. This is going to be very, very exciting because it is us partnering with the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network, our podcast network. So it's going to be myself, Taylor Field, Kirklin Patzer as far as the GV. There might be some other people joining, but I know those 3 are for sure joining. And then everybody else from Geek Ultimate Alliance is joining, and it's going to be great. We're covering, I think, from PST time, it's 10 to like 7. We're going to be there the whole day. So I'm going to put out a separate episode on both feeds about this, but it's going to work like we will watch and zoom along and watch the entire thing. So you could come watch us, see our reaction to trailers, but if not, we have had times, which that's why you go follow GV and GUA on Facebook or Twitter, specifically Twitter for this one for the updates, because when you follow that, we let you know, like, okay, here's all the panels, and this is the break. This is when we'll be recording the podcast version. Eventually, the podcast will get some of that on there. It'll be split up. Half the content will be on the Geek Ultimate Alliance, and half the content will be on GV. That's just the way it works, because it's 2 people, like 2 networks teaming together. It's like, where do you go where? So there'll be a bunch of stuff, but it's just going to be a fun time. We're going to be breaking down, reviewing all that news, so that's going to be good. As usual, you can go over to Patreon, get stuff early and exclusive and ad-free. You can jump on our $15 tier, the Phase 4 tier. We just had Carl Ritchie. That's going to drop next week. We just did a watch-along of the Flash 1990 pilot. That was tons of fun. We have us coming out with Aaron Braden, so we got tons of good stuff coming up. So if you want to just go check out the phases right now, Phase 2, as early as that or as low as that, you can get what is it now? Prestige just went up ad-free and early. And then soon this weekend, well, kind of this weekend, Interstellar Interception, we are recording. And then the Nolan Retro will be done. We're going to do the Dark Knight commentary tracks at some point. We've already done retros for those, so they will be done at some point. But the Nolan movies, every Nolan movie we've watched. And yeah, it looks like us at Canada, we're getting Tenet in the theaters. So we're going to see it. We're going to review it. We're not sure what we're doing there because we have a lot of American listeners. So we might put on non-spoilers of spoilers. Who knows? So that's why you follow along. The other reason I'm flustered is because, 1, planning lots, but then 2, sorry, let me clear my throat before I lay out. Okay, so here, I'm going to get in this Project Power review, and if this is new to Geek Fresh, you're probably, oh my God, he doesn't get to the review. We always talk a little bit, how's our lives going, stuff like that. Life going great in general, but one thing that's not going good, and this is like a little, I hate to do this, but a little sneak peek because I'm so over it. I'm so done with it here at Geekverse. Is just the fact that so today I was waiting all day because Taylor was supposed to join me on this review, and then I get a message this morning of, oh, I guess yesterday I was waiting all day. It just felt like all day today. Oh, I can't do it. Even though he was supposed to message me last night to tell me that whether he could or could not, because we agreed to say, hey, we're going to do the review Friday night. No message whatsoever, so I'm waiting around to see. Sometimes he just doesn't respond, so that's great. And then today he says, oh, I'm not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. And the amount of things that are piling up that he's not doing. You know, we started Instagram. I started that by saying, oh, don't worry, don't take, like, I'll take good care of that. Barely post on it, you know, which hurts us. Social media always helps. So we got that going. And then streaming, I want to thank everyone that's tuned into our Twitch streams. We're going to do that more in the future. The movie and TV stuff is going to be on YouTube, and the game stuff is going to be on Twitch. So whether that's gaming news, breakdowns, or the streams, which we'll do more often, we're affiliate now. So you can go over there and follow us, and you can, just by watching, give money back to the channel. Or you can hit us with your Prime Twitch subscription. And there's going to be tons of details in the future. But that would mean a lot because any support, we get the build. Any support would be great because you know how I probably had, you know, these 3 false starts? We could get to know 3 false starts. So he's supposed to do a bunch of streams. It's been like a month and a half since he streamed, like, I think it was Predators Underground, of course, this game, you know, that he lied about for years that he wasn't going to play, and then it got to PC, and I'm going to play it. So, and then just on top of this, I'm, you know, getting to be about over it, you know. So this was a while back ago. This was almost a year. I think it was a year ago in the summer. We have the Geekverse Gauntlet, which is our esports league. It's kind of stopped now. It's happening. It's going to be like in big streams here and there, but it was just so hard for us to do, and we didn't want to put out an inferior product. But what happened was after a game where I beat him, again, as usual, he nutshot me. He kneed me in the nuts. Probably everyone's seen. It's a classic image. There's gifs about it, everything like that. I wasn't too happy about it because it was a cheap shot. And I had found a way that he was going to wrestle me because I run the esports league, and him and Kirklin had the team titles. I said, if you want to, you know, if you don't want to get stripped, you got to face me in another wrestling match. Because if you don't know, a long time ago, me and him versed in a wrestling match, and he cheated to win, and he had outside interference. So I've been talking with my brother. More or less, I've been training with my brother. And I was thinking, because so much has gone past, it's been a year since that happened. And I was thinking maybe I should just let it fly. You know, we're friends. Maybe just bygones be bygones. Have a conversation. But sometimes you got to put your foot down and stand up for yourself. And I'm sick and tired of not getting the respect around here. Gauntlet's one thing. That's video games. I don't really care. You know, in November when me and Jessica face in Pokemon, I will beat her at some point. But at the end of the day, if I don't win that, that's great. Just because a better game. This is my life. This is me planning stuff. This is me getting frustrated when I'm trying to make plans and he just drops them all the time. And it's just a lack of respect. And I think I need to show him what it means to respect somebody. This is just the podcast stuff. He has put me through a bunch, especially in the stream last year, the charity stream. He screwed me over multiple times. So, Taylor Field, I am sorry to tell you, and this is, I'm telling all the listeners because it's going to be announced and everything like that. September 12th. Saturday, September 12th. Taylor versus Travis, number 2. I don't know what time it's going to be. We will let you all know, but all I will say is I've been training with my brother, and last time you cheated. You brought in somebody to help you win. That's great. So that's why in this match, outside interference, it's allowed. You can bring in whoever you want because I'm going to bring whoever I want. And the second part is weapons allowed, no rules. Only way to win is by pinfall and submission. September 12th, Taylor Field. I'm going to teach you something that you desperately need, and that's a lesson in respect. And what you did last time is not going to happen. I didn't want to do this, actually, but you've just brought me to this point. So I'm going to talk about this movie. But September 12th, I hope you're ready. I really do, because I'm going to bring it this time. I'm really going to bring it. I don't care what you have in store. You're done. So, Project Power, on a lighter note. This is a movie that I was excited for. I didn't know much about it. I knew that I didn't even watch a full trailer. I knew that it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jamie Foxx starring in a superhero sort of movie. As I said, I'll give you my non-spoilers and give you my 3, 2, 1 spoilers. I liked this movie. I did, which is good because Netflix recently has been putting out stuff that I would say was fine to not liking. I always say there's like a Netflix scale, and they are getting better, but I think it's everything, or it's something that everyone knows as far as what they put out for their movies, not the greatest. Not really A-tier stuff. There's tons of films out there, there's tons of movies on the service, but few of them break out, and even then, like, there's movies that break out that to me are not the greatest. I think I probably have about under five of movies that are on past the Netflix scale, which is the would I watch this again? That's A Marriage Story, that's An Irishman, that might be about it. I don't know. And that's where, does this movie pass that scale? For me, no. But it's close. I think you will get an enjoyable time out of this. It is, if you don't know the plot, Jamie Foxx there's this drug. People take a pill and they turn into or it enhances whatever might be their superpower inside them. Everyone doesn't know what their superpower is. That's what I didn't know. I actually thought it was a different plot, that these pills had superpowers, but you just didn't know what you were going to get when you took it. But no, that's not it. Everyone has a superpower in you, and there's the same thing like drugs. You can OD and everything like that. Jamie Foxx teams up with this girl because they kind of both have a common goal. And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt is this detective in New Orleans who is looking for the source of this Project Power, these power pills. And it's kind of I would say, it gets to be at some point a classic buddy cop thing. And I'm not going to do too many spoilers or anything that non-spoilers, but just a little hinting that I feel that if you're expecting to watch this movie, kind of like I was for, I want to see Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt like team up, have some great screen time. They at times do, but it's very few and far in between. It's not as much as I was hoping. I like when they get two great actors, put them together and see what this duo creates. This movie really isn't that. Of course, they have scenes together, but I was expecting a lot more out of that. I feel at times for cinematography and the style of the movie, it kind of got in the way. It was going for something. It was very like at a breakneck sort of pace. There was lots of Dutch angle shots, which was just like, it's like the diagonal, it's going up, or it's like making you feel uneasy. And it just, if that's the look they wanted, they definitely hit it. It just eventually, and I guess it made you feel uneasy, but not in the uneasy way where to me like, oh, this is setting a mood. It just feels like sometimes with shaky cam where I go, this isn't for me. And this isn't shaky cam, but it just kind of whatever style they're going for cinematically didn't really work. Acting is good. There's no one that's really bad acting in here. I think there's some people, I don't mean to be mean. I don't know why Machine Gun Kelly keeps getting put in these Netflix movies. He has a good partnership with him, but Bird Box, that was fine. The Dirt was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And then this was fine, but he's just like, I imagine he costs a little bit more than just any other like unknown actor off the street. And I feel like you could get someone better, but that's, a side thing. Action is good, but it's also a little stupid. These are again in the minor spoilers where there's a situation where some characters are being hunted by the bad guys, and the bad guys are just a classic organization. That's not a big spoiler. That gets set up really early on that, okay, there's these pills, and they're just trying to find the source of them. And I'm not even sure the trailer showed what Jamie Foxx is officially looking for, so I won't reveal, but he's just looking for something with this tied to this organization. There's this girl who's kind of, in the slums. She wants to be a rapper. She's probably late middle school, late high school, things like that. And her and Jamie Foxx are both black, so they kind of bond over that. And there's some good stuff. She wants to be a rapper. And actually the rap sequences were really fun, and they were, I thought, really well thought out. But I'm also one of the whitest guys on the planet that, probably, listens to maybe not the greatest rap. Like I like, Vanilla Ice's Go Ninja Go, but nonetheless, I liked it, and it didn't come off as like a gimmick. Didn't just feel, oh, these are kind of bad lines. I liked what was happening. I liked their relationship. Joseph Gordon-Levitt also has a relationship with this girl, so there's kind of this, protecting the girl, gotta work together sort of sense. So they all have a goal, and they're all going towards something. But the action scenes, so like I said, it's a few characters, and the good guys are dealing with this organization, and this organization has goons, right? And there's a time where character A, who's the good guy, and then character B. Character A is walking through some halls, and then he, walks past this bad guy. And this bad guy sees him, and he, like, goes against the wall because he doesn't want to be seen. So what he does is the bad guy takes this pill and gets the powers. It's a fun power. It's cool. But the thing that didn't make sense, and this happens a lot in this movie, and that's where this is just a fun kind of Extraction level where I don't think Extraction, that type of, it has that good of action. The action in Extraction was good. It's just the story and some of the stuff that they did with that ending I hate, and some of the like character work was very thin. It's kind of like that. I think this is more enjoyable because it's a bit more of a fun outlook. I feel like there are some darker moments in this movie, but Extraction, like the guy literally at the beginning of the movie is trying to kill himself, right? Minor spoilers. It's been out for a while. It happens in the first 2 minutes of the movie. This has that buddy cop feel, even if they're not buddy cops. But anyway, so he's walking down the hall. The guy takes the pill. It didn't make any sense for the bad guy not just to walk around the corner and take his gun and shoot that person away. This happens multiple times where there's another time where a villain is looking down on our main characters with a gun and could just take it and spray and kill at least one of them. But no, throws the gun aside. So it's very cartoony at times. It doesn't have that much logical sense. The goons like that, and like other goons Joseph Gordon-Levitt deals with that, even Jamie Foxx at times, feel very video game NPC of just, oh, everyone's after you, throw a rock, everyone looks, and then you hide over there and it's gone, So I think the action is fun, but it's kind of nonsensical. The powers are cool for the most part. I think I'll save that part for spoilers, but I think for the most part they're done well. There's a few that the CGI, Netflix has big budgets, but there's a few for sure that the budget fails it on. It's maybe the scene could have been shortened so when the effects were in there it looked better, or they should have just cut it. And there's a few in particular I would shout out. Maybe just one in particular that was really like, oof. And it's not even that big of a sequence, but it felt video gamey, which takes you out of it, and it just feels like, okay, these actors are looking at something that's not there. Characters, I like them all. I don't know if Joseph Gordon-Levitt pulls off the best New Orleans accent, but I liked him enough. Jamie Foxx, I feel like is just kind of playing cool Jamie Foxx in this movie. I'd have to let me look up the girl. I honestly think the girl was my favorite part of it. What's her name? Is that the one? Dominic Fishback? Let me see, because there's two girls of generally the same age in this movie. And I just want to make sure so I can shout her out. But she was, it's Dominic Fishback. Yeah, she was really good. I really liked her. She's, I'd say, the heart of this film. She is taking care of a family member. Again, things that are set up very early, and that kind of gets her on this adventure of maybe going down some bad paths, but trying to have a little redemption. So it's kind of every movie you've seen before. If I would recommend this, I would say, one, if there's nothing else on TV that if you watched it all or nothing that, is catching your eye, give it a shot. I think in the first half an hour, you'll kind of know what you'll like it, and you'll know what the tone kind of is. If you really like Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, then I'd say watch it. If you really are watching this because you want to see them together, you'll get that, but not as much as I'd say you'd think as far as the posters and the trailers to me. I have not seen all the full trailers, but just to me, it was leading with that. I think there's some really cool ideas in here, but nothing of major consequence that I want to come back for. There's a few lines in this movie that they set up where I go, I don't think you've earned that. And that's where it just feels like, it doesn't feel like some of these movies where it's like, it's a big setup. It doesn't feel like that, but it just feels that some of it's unearned, but it's a fun little world. I think it's Netflix. If you already have a subscription, it doesn't cost you any money. I'd recommend it for now, but I would, if Tenet comes out, New Mutants comes out, Bill and Ted, I wouldn't be recommending them then. So if you don't want to stick around for spoilers, I kind of do this now sometimes with some of these just solo reviews. My score, I'd give it like a 6.5. I usually give things to 7s that are things that I really enjoy, but I have a lot of problems that I'll probably watch again. I'm pretty confident I'll never rewatch this. And not because it's bad, but just didn't really stick with me. There's not a scene, There's maybe one scene in particular, but it's a very short, like, oh, I really like that scene. The rest is all I liked to enjoy okay, but you never know, because my lady was watching with me, and she quite liked it. She really enjoyed it. So I think other people, and I've talked to some other people, really enjoyed it. It's a good kind of superhero generic action film with some cool ideas. That's what I'd say. So... And even then, the spoilers, it's not going to be that long. 3, 2, 1. We're into spoilers now. This is what I sum up when things are unearned. They kept talking about all the bad guys were like, these pills could bring down governments. I don't believe that. They could topple like countries. I don't think they earn that, because some of the pills, I wasn't sure if someone would take it wrong. So this is where you could flag me on for someone. Please tell me in the comments. I'm not sure if it was you took it wrong, or it was just over Gordon-Levitt messing with people, like he was messing with people, or this is true, because at one point the girl Robin, she is dealing pills. So like I said, we're in spoilers now. She's dealing pills to Joseph Gordon-Levitt because the pills. Criminals are starting to use them against the police force, and he just wants to be prepared. He thinks it's unethical, but he sets up that someone came into the precinct and just blew away a bunch of his friends and fellow officers, right? So it's kind of the Batman thing. I want to take crime in my own hands. We can't get it done as police. So, okay, this is fine. So she is dealing to him, but when he goes to pick them up, these three guys ambush her and start taking it. And then he gives a story about, you could have a power, blah, 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 but you could also just blow up. And he's talking about how people just blow up. The reason I said I was unsure because my lady took it as if you take it wrong, like there's a way like you switch the pill and then you put it down your throat and then it expands. Maybe there's a way if you do it wrong that it blows up, or it is just like your system, your nerves can't handle it. That's why it's like people joke like, oh, your power is blowing up, but really it's just, no, you can't handle it. You're not meant to have these powers. So if we're going with what I thought it was, which was, hey, you could just blow up potentially, I don't think that is great for tackling governments. And the other thing is, so you get this power and you get it for 5 minutes. Now, I guess they could test beforehand. They likely would, but at the same point, you don't know what everyone's power is. So the recruitment process is going to be a lot. And I feel like in these criminal organizations, they're not recruiting people based on their powers, or they're not going to go through like the criminal organization. Of course, was like in suits and they're the government, but they make it sound like they're just testing anybody. So to me, they're going to be like, "Hey, you work for us. You're a goon. Try out this pill. I hope for the best." Like Machine Gun Kelly's one is he went on fire, kind of like Human Torch. But when he was off, like when it ended, it wasn't like Human Torch where he's back to normal. He was all scarred and pussy and burnt up. That sucks. That guy's gonna be in. I guess he just ODs. You just get him to taking the pills, but they do say people can OD. I thought for sure they were gonna play with that with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, and he'd maybe have a moment where he'd have to OD himself to save the group at the end because he kept taking pills. And I was like, okay, they set up that they can OD. Here we go. He's taking like 3 within, I don't know, 30 minutes. This could be a lot. And no, he's just kind of fine. So I was disappointed by that. They do some like I don't know. That's the other thing too. I felt like the movie was trying to have it both ways. Of it was being in a very fantastical world, but then other times it was trying to be like science, And you could definitely pull it off. That's one of the things where I always say I like about the MCU, as far as it is, science-based, but then eventually, okay, we got to throw this out the window, and this is just the way it is. Lots of great Batman comics do that. Batman, I love the Nolan versions, but I don't love the Nolan versions just because they're realistic. I like one of those versions of it, but it's not, I still want to see Batman fight a man of clay. I think in the comics, some of the best ones can explain the idea of a Superman or a Mr. Freeze in a realistic world as best possible, right? But then you have things like Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2 specifically, where Jamie Foxx, speaking of him, falls in a water vat of eels, and then they just eat him, and he's Electro, This movie went back and forth between like, we've taken the DNA of armadillos and, snakes and all this stuff, and that's why we get these powers. So I was like, okay, that's cool. But then at one point, which I think I saw some article, I didn't look into it because I didn't want to be spoiled yet, but it was like the explanation of Jamie Foxx's power. It's okay. Maybe there is. But his power, when he takes the pill, his daughter's like, you cannot do that because if you're just following along, you didn't watch the movie. Jamie Foxx is called the Major. He was a former soldier, and he's trying to find his daughter, who they don't really get fully into of like what's going on. She is the source of this power, so maybe it's just in her bloodstream, but they set up in a flashback where they're driving, someone's after them, they break over his vehicle, and they take the girl. I don't know why they didn't kill him. This organization has shown many times to be very brutal and will just kill people, but they didn't kill Jamie Foxx, so kind of a plot hole, especially this is their dad. He's trained. He might come back and pull a Taken, but they don't, so okay. They take his daughter. She's the source of it, so he's looking for that. They're kind of pinning him as far as he's the source of power. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt is after him, and Robin kind of is friends with them both. She was friends with the cop before. He gave her a bike. It's kind of like a big brother sort of situation. And Jamie Foxx almost kind of looks up to him as a dad in the short time they know each other, because he's like telling her, you got to follow your dreams. Like whatever you're good at, you have to do, because society's going to hold you down as like a black woman. And there were some good themes that way too, and I felt that didn't feel forced sometimes, whether it is as far as diversity with race or women's issues. They are important, but sometimes you can tell that someone, I think, has a grasp on them or has some ideas as far as, to express them in the script, where other times it might just be like, no, life's tough. And like, I know I just said Jamie Foxx says that, but it's sprinkled throughout the movie and they have multiple conversations about that. And it came off as natural because they were just kind of talking about his past work and what she did in the future. It wasn't just dropped like, oh yeah, you're gonna have troubles because you're a black lady, and then they moved on just to be like, oh, they hit diversity. No, it didn't feel like a checkmark thing. It felt like whoever was writing it, whoever won the story, it felt like they felt that was essential to the character. So that was good. I like that, and that's what I mean. I like. There's quite a few things in this movie I do like. So Jamie Foxx they eventually lead together. They figure out he's not the source, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt figures out that, with Jamie Foxx's help, that his precinct is corrupt and stuff. So they get to this boat. That's the finale. They get his daughter, and they're trying to get out of there. And they set up that Jamie Foxx can't take this pill because something big is going to happen, So when he takes this pill, it is pretty cool. It's big. He literally turns into like a microwave. He's sending out shock waves, and they're just like heating people up, and they're just melting and dying, and things around him are exploding. And there's like the main bad girl who's in the government. This like it like evaporates this like anchor, and it falls on her. I was like, okay, it's very 2000s 90s at times. And then he dies, and then the daughter brings back to life because she can heal or something like that. But I didn't understand. That's where I feel sometimes a movie that just went, they were, hey, we found a way to do this. Science is crazy, and let's move on. The War Machine recast with Rhodey, like, I'm here, deal with it. Let's go on. That's sometimes I feel like but I like that they tried. I just feel like at times they were trying to set it very realistically, and then it popped off because I don't know what animal. And maybe that article that I saw was maybe like an ancient animal. Like I kind of thought it was like a phoenix, but those are animals that we don't have physical proof that they were real, as far as the, magical realm, as far as a bird dying and covered in flame and then rising out of the ashes. These are all like mythical tales, right? So that's where I went, okay, it kind of had its baked to cake and ate it too. So it was based in science at times, but other times it's like, fuck it, let's just get nuts. And that's fine. I wish they maybe did more of the let's get nuts sort of deal, Michael Keaton style, but I liked it. And the big sequence I was talking about that I was like, it's a little iffy. I don't know if this is working. There's a main producer, the real source. The source is like the government that's testing on people, but the guy that's like the drug dealer source, he gets in this club fight, which is really cool. There's this scene where they put this girl in like this tank where the temperature is super, super low, where you would just die. It's a little unrealistic, the amount of how quickly she freezes. I think it was just like, maybe it's just the way the CG was done, but just the way she froze, I don't know if that's possible, but you can let me know down below in the comments. As always, I'm fine to be wrong. Her power is she can like create ice and like be very cold, which again, it was like, okay, maybe you could have a penguin or a polar bear where it's like you can live in that temperature, but then she's literally Iceman, she's literally Bobby Drake. So it's like, all right, does that just enhance or unlock some new powers? I guess, sure. But it's a cool scene. There's a cool fight sequence in there. There's at times where it's like trying to be a little flashy again with the cinematography. They like shoot from the inside of the tank when Jamie Foxx is fighting the goons. But at some point, it's just so icy, you can barely see what's going on. And it just kind of looked lazy at times. Like it looked like there was another shot and that's all they had. I don't think that was. I think they were trying to go for that aesthetic. I liked the idea. I just don't think the execution was there. But anyway, so this is when Joseph Gordon-Levitt meet up. This is when they start to do the whole like, oh, this is what's really going on. The main drug dealer, he takes the pill, and his big thing is he can get big. And he's like Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, troll level getting big. Like his muscles are huge and he's all gross and grotesque. Oh boy, the CGI, not to be desired on that one. That was one they should have cut or found something else. It just didn't work, and then that's when it felt very cheesy, and that's where it felt very like 2000s. Like, this is just, I don't know. It feels somewhat like, again, like talking about Netflix, like Bright. That sort of like, I'm not gonna say cringe, but just it just didn't fit. It fit in that other movie that was the whole like 2000s, really cheesy, really actiony, but this was just, and maybe if it just would have looked better, because it's supposed to be this moment where I feel like you're scared if you're like, he's getting big, oh my god, but it just is like, no, this doesn't look good, and it just takes me right out of it, and it goes away, I won't say very quickly, but quickly enough it doesn't hurt the film, because they do this whole, I don't know, this situation where they blow him up and then his arm flies out on the car beside him, and that classic humor. I think that's everything. I liked that. it was set up like there's a sequel set up there, but not necessarily as far as Joseph Gordon-Levitt still in the hut. He's gonna try and find out more about this company. Jamie Foxx and his daughter leave, but they have her throw her. She had like this bracelet on that was her credentials and her name and everything. She threw it off in the car. Now that to me was just, oh, she's finally free. But you could easily set that up in a sequel as someone found that and they know which path they're going. But it wasn't like the old guard where I saw some people be like, oh, that was a cool setup for a sequel. No, it was literally like in the old guard they left one plot point open, and then in the end credit scene it's like, I'm back and I'm here to figure out this unplot point. And the other character's like, oh my God, you are. And it's like, this doesn't feel fulfilling. This is not, the loop is not closed in the story. Where I like movies like this, especially when a one off like this. Even MCU, DC, unless there's like we're filming back to back, an Infinity War Endgame sort of situation, Dark Knight to Dark Knight Rises. Even the Dark Knight, you could end like that and just go, oh, the Batman made that sacrifice and he's living this life onto himself. This I like. I majority like movies that you could leave things open for a sequel, but it's not, hey, this is the route it's going. It has to be a sequel. There's things purposely left open. There is little cracks left open that we could explore in this, which that's why I like this ending. But in some movies, they just leave the door wide open. And it's like, well, can we close this? No, we can't because there's so many plot lines still in the way. But this is the end of the movie. Well, don't you want a sequel? And I go, well, with the old guard, I go, no, not really. But, you probably get one because Netflix. And I just feel that hurts the movie because leaving that plot line open, especially if you don't get a sequel, really hurts that movie. So I liked the ending. It to me, it felt open, but it felt closed as far as if we never make another one again, whether it was, I don't even know what's reviewing wise critically, actually. I've just seen kind of friends talk about it on Twitter and people are seeming to enjoy it. So I think fan reception seems to be good enough. And watching wise, I think it'll do well. You got two big stars in there. It's a superhero film. So if there's more, great. If not, perfect. It ended on a nice little cliff note. So that's everything I have. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. You can find all the links down below. We got lots of good stuff coming up the next few weeks. And Taylor Field, time is almost up.